Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to show you how I make my jawline look like super sharp. A lot of it is lighting, don't get it twisted. A lot of the directly in the sun videos and photos that I take are very flattering. So flattering lighting, angles, fantastic. But I want to show you how I contour my jawline. So I don't have like the most cut jawline, despite what a lot of you might think. I've said this before, I've always wanted one of those like long, like defined Nefertiti type jaws, I guess, but I don't have that. I have like a pretty, I don't know what you would call it. Not like square. I don't know. It's not like super cut. So I'm going to show you how I do this with two products, cream and powder, especially if you are like my skin tone or tend to be, or like more fair to light skin tone, then these products are really, really fantastic colors for, like, in my opinion, most skin tones, unless you're like a redhead maybe, or super, super blue toned, if that makes sense. All right, so I am in the middle of another tutorial, which is why I look like this. So I'm gonna start off with creams. So the product that I like to use when I do, well, for the most part I use creams because I think it's the most natural look. The color that I prefer is the Contour Stick by KKW Beauty in the shade Light Medium. Yes, I made a video about how you shouldn't use these, just opinions changed over time, okay? So in the ether, I have a bunch of videos talking about that and I'm not gonna go into it. Anyway, this shade is a very beautiful, like neutrally contour shade. It's a little bit warm, but hardly. It's definitely more neutral. It's not too red, it's not too purple, because a lot of the time, especially as an olive-skinned person, I have like very yellow skin with olive undertones. It's very hard to find a contour shade. This one, in my opinion, is the best one that I have found so far. So that is the cream that I like to use. It's also a stick, so it's nice and quick. I use this to contour my entire face. I used it on my cheekbones and also my nose today. And then the powder contour that I like, this is the Backstage Contour Palette by Dior, and then this is the light shade. So they have this like deeper, warmer shade, which is going to be good for just like deeper, warmer. This is like a pretty decent olive type contour palette. Like someone like Desi Perkins, like this I think would look really beautiful. It's way too warm, like brick almost for me, but typically like the deeper your skin is, the warmer you can get away with. So this is the powder shade that I'm going to be showing you. But like I said, I like doing my initial contour with creams. So you can replace this that I'm going to show you right now with just powders if that's what you prefer, or you can just use creams. It's pretty much up to you. So for the contour stick, I prefer not putting it down, like just drawing with it, just because it can end up being like maybe a little bit more harsh. These are actually a very sheer formula. So you can blend them out really easily, which is nice. So like you can definitely build it up, but if you want to, you can really shear it out, you know? So it's not one of those things that's gonna like build up way too much or be like way too pigmented. So you can go in if you want to. But what I like to do is pick it up on a brush. I've kind of like gone back and forth between a few different brushes. The one that I'm using right now is the blush, I guess this is a blush brush from Sephora brand, but what I like about it is the shape. So it gets a little bit thinner as you turn it, and it's just kind of fluffy. I don't know, I like that. What I was using before was this little brush from Morphe, which is, I don't know, it's just kind of like a really tiny sort of foundation brush. There's no number or name on it, but it just kind of looks like that. And this is fine, but it's a little bit more dense and concentrated. I don't know, I've just been kind of like switching it up. So whatever brush you prefer, but I would definitely try to keep it on the smaller side so that you can get that like detail, I guess. So first thing is make a double chin. So basically what you're gonna be doing when you're contouring, we're placing these dark shades in the area that we want to push into the background. So we want this to go backwards. So this part of my like double chin, that's what I wanna call it, is the area that I want to like push back. So I always start off by like making a double chin, and then the area that comes out the most, this is super flattering by the way, the area that comes out the most is the one that I want to be the darkest, if that makes sense. So like someone like Kim Kardashian, I've watched Mario do her makeup before where he applies the contour like right along her jawline, like right here, not underneath. he starts off like here. The reason that he does that is because her jaw's already really defined, and she actually has like, not a prominent chin, but like she has more of an ovally face than I do. So what he's doing is he's kind of shortening that area to make that part of her face look a lot smaller because she doesn't need it down here. If I were to do that, it would just make this part look like way worse. So what I'm gonna do is gently pick up a bit of product on the tip of my brush, and then I'm gonna make a double chin, like a really cute double chin. And then I'm going to place this in the area where I want it to be the darkest first. But I'm gonna be using like really, really light feathering motions. This is like the cutest I've ever looked. Also, I have a really bad breakout like right there. So yeah, this is ideal. So I like to just kind of like go back and forth, pick up some product, place it down, using a really light hand. And I'm focusing it in the area that I want to push back the most. So I can be a little bit more sloppy just because like I want this area to be very shaded. And also it's like, I'm short. So like people are for the most part are looking down on me anyway. No one's really like, you know, looking up at me like that. So I start off by kind of like building up the shade. And if you know, you can kind of like do that, like give yourself, this really hurts my throat. Give yourself a double chin so that you can see like what you need to push back. And just make sure that you're really, really, really slowly building up the product. Even if you have a shade that maybe isn't perfect for your skin, I think the lightest you go and like the more you blend, the more it looks like it's meant to be there, if that makes sense. All right, so then what I like to do once I have it down there, see it's already made like a huge difference. We've kind of created a natural shadow underneath. Then what I like to do is just kind of like feather it like in this area, because then like if I'm moving or I'm talking, you know, this area kind of like pops forward. So just want to kind of like blend it there so that we don't have any kind of harsh lines. Sometimes to make the lower part of my jawline look a little bit more like sharp and defined in this area, I'll pick up a tiny bit more. And what I'll do, because I want to like kind of cut this off and like create a really sharp line there. So I'll kind of shade here, like in front of my ear. And that kind of like makes my jaw look a little bit, I don't want to say smaller, but like cuter, if that makes sense. And then I'll kind of follow this line. And then you always want to feather. Sometimes I'll drag it like, just kind of follow the natural contours of the neck so that it looks, you know, a little more natural. So drag it down here. So that's really personal preference. It just depends on like how wide do you want like the lower part of your jaw to look. If you have a really, really small jaw, then maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe you want to like highlight there a little bit more. Actually don't really even need this. I don't know why I'm doing it. It's an option. All right, and then if I feel like, because when I gain weight, I usually get like, I don't know, just extra fat like in this area. Like it doesn't look as like cut in that area. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of like pick up maybe a tiny bit more product. And then what I want is to kind of create a sharper line right here. So I feel like I keep hitting my mic, sorry. So I'll kind of like bring this product up a little bit and just basically shade the area that I want to push back. So what I'm doing is kind of more of a dome shape like this, or more of like a curve, kind of like that. But I don't want, because this area comes forward much more than this area, so I don't want this to end up being darker than this, because like I said, that'll make this part come forward and it'll push this back too much. So it'll actually end up doing the opposite of what we want. So I'm just gonna blend and feather right here, and then I'll kind of like, if I have any extra product, just kind of like drag it down so that I'm focusing most of the pigment in this area. And then if you do happen to have like breakouts in this area like I do, I usually will do this first before I spot conceal, because then I can like mix a custom concealer that will match like that contoured area. Because basically to make this area like blend and look nice, you have to do these motions. So you're gonna be removing product if you decide to conceal before you do this. So then if I'm looking like straight on, it kind of like shades this area a little bit more and makes that part look a little straighter. So it helps to kind of like turn and compare. This area isn't quite as bad. Actually gonna wipe off my brush a little bit. And then if you feel like you went in with a little bit too much, you know, always keep your brush, your sponge handy so that you can just like go in and blend. And then I like to kind of do the same thing down here. I'll just kind of like tap all over this stuff so that it looks nice and seamless. So that's how I use the cream. Now sometimes it depends on what event you're going to. So during the day, I don't like to do any more than this because you're out in natural sunlight and it can be super obvious. Because, you know, even if we get as close as we possibly can with a contour color, it's not gonna look exactly like our skin, no matter what you do. But if I have an evening event and it's gonna be like dim lights, you're going to a club, you're going to a bar, you're going out to like dinner or something, then I kind of like to go in a little bit more and I will build up a little bit of powder. So this is where the Dior powder comes in. This is a really beautiful, this is probably even better. I would say the shades are close, but this is probably an even better olive contour shade. I use this as an eyeshadow palette all the time. This is so worth it. Just if you happen to be olive and you really need a contour color and you just want it for this color, I'm telling you, you can use these as eyeshadows. Like these are a little bit like shimmery. You can use that as an eyeshadow, highlights, eyeshadows, whatever. This is very worth it. So just saying. So what I like to use for that is this brush by Stilazzi. I don't know, I just kind of like it. It's a little bit tapered, kind of like domed, so it blends really nicely. This is actually, I think it's meant for highlighting. It's called the Strobe L307 brush. So I kind of do the same thing. I just like focus the product on the very tip of it. And then I always, can't really do this with creams, but I always tap it off. And then what I like to do is kind of place this like right underneath. So the area that like I really want to go back the furthest, I'll just build it up even more. So this is kind of a way to set that cream and build up the shadow so that it doesn't, you know, it's not going to go anywhere. And like I said, I only do this if it's like an evening thing. If I know like the lights are going to be dim because we are really shading that area. And then I'll just blend it up. And that's it, guys. It's literally that easy. So basically all you're doing is contouring your jawline the way you would contour your cheekbones. Think dark, you want it to go back. Light, you want it to come forward. Yeah, that's basically it. All right, guys, I know this was kind of a quick little instructional video, educational video, but hopefully it helps you if you weren't really sure like how to do this sort of thing. Also, I want to do like a full face how to contour your face shape. So if you want to see that, leave it in the comments down below. I'll tell you, I'll basically break down like how I contour my forehead, how you should contour your forehead, depending on like what the shape is. Same thing with like basically the whole face. All right, let me know if you are interested in that. Thank you for watching and hopefully I will see you in the next one.